on a miserable thunderstorm rainy day. I've already did this comic before in one of my earlier showcases, and it didn't get too many videos back then. I was just new. I don't blame anybody, but the newness of everything. And this is a super important comic, so I thought I would do it again. I like to do these annuals and big size comics on a Sunday comic because then I have more time to dive into them. So here we have this. Just look at this cover. This is just outstanding. Uh, until people show up or I get confirmation, I'm just gonna talk about where I got this comic. So I was a little kid. I got this off the spinner rack at a 7-Eleven near me. I remember vividly. I remember going to the 7-Eleven. I forget what for, but I went in with my mother. She was probably buying cigarettes or something like that. And this was on the spinner rack, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to have this." Marvel 2-in-1, the thing, and this was 1977, so I don't really think at the time I was really astute about collecting comics. You know, I talk about that story about my friend Sean and my friend Carl. They were the ones who got me into comics. All right, I might as well start way at the beginning. Oh, I got a thumbs up. Thank you for the Phantom Visitor because I have 0 people watching. But when I was a little kid, I'm going to say second grade, I couldn't read. I couldn't read. I remember in first grade, my teacher, Mrs. Muir, would have these flashcards, and she would hold up the cards, and it was like a ladder. As you read the flashcards, you went up the ladder, and the first person to go up the ladder would win a prize, or anybody who went up the ladder would win a prize. And I never got, hey, Tony Dimes is here. Hey, Tony, how's everything? How's everything, Tony? Tony Dimes has been on my channel before. He hosted a Sunday Comics with me. We talked about the Silver Surfer, and Tony Dimes is he's a rap star. He's hanging out with Jay-Z. Thank you for you taking time off your Beyonce tour to sit down and watch. Oh, are Jay-Z and Beyonce with you watching this? That would be cool. Give me the Illuminati symbol up. So it's showtime. Hey, Bucky's here. Yeah, right. Bucky's here. Bucky, one of the most knowledgeable people. Everything is wonderful, bro. Oh, great, great, great. Everything is wonderful. Ah, man, you can't get a better recommendation or better descriptor than that. Everything is wonderful. So as I was saying, Tony, he has a rap song, Sunday Gravy. You can go to Spotify, check out Sunday Gravy right here. All right, all right. We got to tell Beyonce to cover her legs. There's some pictures going around on the internet that aren't too flattering. Let's start everything off with a Tim Hortons ad. Tim Hortons coffee puts construction workers to work in the morning. Oh man, great choice for. Oh, Jeff's here. All right, great. All right, so I might as well start over again. I did it one of my earliest showcases. When I first started this channel, I figured if I showcased all the super important comics right away, I was going to get 1 billion followers and 1 billion people watching me. But I was just super excited, and not that I know what I'm doing now, but I know this much more, which was at the beginning was this much. Now I know this much. So I took out all my big guns and I showcased all my big guns. I'm thinking about revisiting, like I did Fantastic Four 1 and Avengers 1 and Avengers 4, and all the first appearances. So I'm thinking like maybe to revisit those comics, now that I have a decent sized audience. So this is one of the earlier showcases. So yes, if you are a long timer or if you've been going through my back catalog, you can be like, wait a minute, he's finally senile. Yes, you're right. I am finally senile. But in this particular case, I knew exactly that I was doing this again. I think this is an important comic, and I thought this would be a fun thing to show everybody. So I'll just finish the story. I got a bunch of viewers. Have I covered any what is MLJ? I don't know what MLJ is. I couldn't read. In second grade, I just couldn't read. So, like, as I was saying, Mrs. Bureau would have these flashcards, and I couldn't get past, like, the second or third rung. I don't know how I made it to third grade. Third grade, I couldn't read. I was in the bottom reading group. The teacher would she had reading groups. There was 4 or 5 reading groups, and I just remember that the Owls was the number 1 reading group, and I always joke that I was in the Cuckoo Birds, but I don't remember what the name of it probably wasn't flattering. And I just remember sitting next to me was Jordan. Last name will not be mentioned because maybe he's like CEO of something right now. But Jordan, this was third grade. Jordan couldn't go to the bathroom. He would go to the bathroom in third grade and he needed help. And he would go into the bathroom, we had a bathroom in our classroom. He would go to the bathroom and he would leave the door open and then he would walk out and he would scream, "Wipe my hiney." This is third grade. Oh, MLJ, AK Archie Comics. Yes, I do have the Red Circle comics, and yes, they are my. This is my pile of showcase comics. They are in there, Bucky. Yes, yes. I do want to showcase those Red Circle comics. So RJ, that's funny. That's Freudian slip. But Jordan would come out, wipe my hind. So I knew there was something wrong because Jordan, me and Jordan are sharing the same reading book, and this kid had snots all down his shirt, and I'm like, oh my god. Anyway, I made friends with Carl, I made friends with Sean, and they were reading comic books. So I would read comic books. Peer pressure could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, depending upon what is being pressured. So I remember going to their houses and we would just trade comics. And even at this point, I probably had a few comics in my house. I had older brothers, so the comic books would trickle down. But I couldn't read them. I would just look at the pictures or whatever, put tracing paper on them and draw. And they were talking about the story and everything and getting excited. I started getting embarrassed. So I would try to read because at this point in my life, third grade, reading was just like a thing that you did at school. It had no real world applications. Who the hell reads? It was like math. You don't go home and do math problems. You know what I mean? What do you want to do? Let's do some math. So reading was a chore that you did in school. Through comic books, reading became a pleasurable activity. And by the end of third grade, I was in the Owls. And I blame it all on comic books. Comic books taught me to read, or at least taught me that there was pleasure and value in reading. Okay, so I walk into the 7-Eleven. I see this on the spinner rack. I am, freaking out. Oh my God, I have to have this comic. How could you not have this comic? Marvel 201. The Thing was always my favorite. Spider-Man's everybody's favorite. And Thanos was a legendary villain. At this point, I had only heard of Thanos, but I've never actually seen him in a comic. So I was like, what is going on? I got to get this thing. We got the Avengers over here. I knew that this was important just from this cover. Check out this cover. Oh my God, is that amazing or what? So I knew I had to have it. I don't think my mom got it for me right away. I mean, 60 cents for a comic book? What are you, crazy? But I forget if I drove or rode my bike there or walked there or went there with my brother, but I eventually went to that same 7-Eleven and got this. Should we call Night Owl as well now? I have no idea what you're talking about, Bucky. So I got this comic and just look at this. So let's open this up. Amazing. It's funny how memory plays a funny trick because in my memory, I don't remember UPC symbols on comics until the mid 80s, but I'm obviously wrong. Obviously wrong. All right, here we got Pizzazz. Look at Stanley. Look at the way they drew Stanley. Stanley wishes he looked that good. Another sip of coffee. Let's go right to the indicia before we do anything else. Volume 1. Oh, this is annual, Volume 1, Number 2, 1977. All right. So, The Thing and Spider-Man together. Story and art, Jim Starlin. Oh my God, Jim Starlin. Phenomenal. There wouldn't be an MCU if not for, there would be an MCU, but it would be completely different. Jim Starlin, he was a creator that was legendary. Even in third grade, didn't particularly know his name, but I knew his works through, there were tough things to find. Like reading Fantastic Four, reading the Marvel 2, like Captain Marvel would show up, and there was Adam Warlock would show up, but I couldn't find the Captain Marvel comics. I couldn't find the Adam Warlock comics. I guess my neighborhood was bland because we had Fantastic Four, we had Spider-Man, we had Hulk, we had Iron Man, we had Thor, but the fringe Marvel stuff, like Marvel, Shang-Chi, I couldn't find. Ghost Rider, I could never find. Doctor Strange, I actually subscribed to because I wanted Doctor Strange, but I couldn't find it in my neighborhood. So forget about the lower selling stuff like Adam Warlock and Captain Marvel. And that's what Jim Starlin did. Jim Starlin, he had the Marvel space cosmic stuff in his corner, and he was telling this grand story that I can only compare to Jack Kirby's Fourth World. Jack Kirby's Fourth World, he had a grand story that overlaid in all of his comics that were heading up to a grand purpose, but unfortunately, Jack never got to finish that story. Later on, he went back to DC and he did the graphic novel Hunger Dogs. So he got to finish it in a bridge form years later. But Jim Starlin was doing the same thing. He was telling a grand cosmic story through various comics. He did it in Marvel 2-in-1. He did it in Marvel Team Up. He did it in Captain Marvel. He did it in Adam Warlock. And you had to get all of the comics to see that this was all heading somewhere. And this is the culmination, believe it or not, to at this point, I'm going to say 5 years of storytelling. Typo. It should have read, since you were in the owls should be called. Oh, Night Owl now. Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, I made it to the owls. That would have meant Leslie Scarandino was a Silk Spectre, because she was the girl I had a crush on in third grade. I haven't thought of that name in God knows how many years. Her kid watches this and he's gonna be like, "Mom, your name was mentioned." All right, so Jim Starlin, story and art. Joe Rubinstein, finished art. So he's more than an inker. Okay, so when they say finished art, that means that Jim Starlin is doing layouts and rough pencils, and Joe Rubinstein is filling it in. Annette K. letterer. I don't really know that name too well. And Petra G. for Petra Goldberg is the colorist. She was a standard. She was there for a long time. And Archie Goodwin. Archie Goodwin is just. I first heard of Archie Goodwin in this period of Marvel Comics, but I've since learned that he started out years later in the Warren magazines, and everybody seems to love Archie Goodwin, myself included. Everybody is in full agreement that he was one of the greatest people in comics. So we got Death Watch. And that's Peter Parker. That's Peter Parker just laying in bed with the spider sense tingling. And look at this. This is Thanos' spaceship. So now you see that it's totally inspired by the TIE Fighter. You remember, or is it? This probably came out before Star Wars. Oh, geez, I just realized that. I've always thought that was, not always, but Star Wars came out in May 4th, 1977. And what month is this? Does it say what? I don't know. So maybe, but he had this ship for years. Oh, okay. So there you go. The TIE Fighter was inspired by this. I'm calling it Jim Starlin, super influential. So this is all Peter Parker's dream. In this dream, he's seen all the Avengers, classic Avengers. This was my Avengers. This is the Avengers that I started reading. We got the Blue Beast, we got Scarlet Witch, and Adam Warlock over here. They're all fighting Thanos' monsters aboard Thanos' his ship. Captain Marvel and Adam Warlock, they're out flying in space. Remember, they can survive in space along with Thor. They're just going into and fighting Thanos. Now Thanos is just being a boss, just taking them out. And what is Thanos doing? He has this big gigantic gem. Inside is the Soul Gem. The Soul Gem was the first of the Infinity Stones that they thought up. They called it the Soul Gem, and it had the power of spirits and souls. And Thanos made this artificial casing to enhance its power. So, it's Infinity Gem, so it's supposed to be super, super powerful. But apparently Thanos didn't understand how to work it because it wasn't an Infinity Stone yet. It was just the Soul Gem. The Infinity Stones, it's always Legos. You stick another Lego on, you stick another Lego on, So at this point, there was just the Soul Gem. Where was I? He smashes it and foils Thanos' plans because he needs this Soul Gem to power up his Doom device. So now Thanos is fighting Iron Man and Thor and Moondragon, a character that I'm really surprised hasn't shown up in the MCU yet. She's perfect for the MCU with girl power and LGBT cube up, down, left, right, press start, reset. So she's setting out a telepathic symbol. They need backup. So that's why Peter Parker's having the dream. So Moondragon, for those of you who do not know, is Drax the Destroyer's daughter. She Heather Douglas is her real name. And Drax the Destroyer in the comic books, his real name is Arthur Douglas. And Arthur, Heather, and their mother, the father, mother, daughter, were driving in a car, and they got attacked by space aliens. There was a a fight, and the car got destroyed. Uh, the Eternals, who were fighting, I guess, deviants. I think that got retroactively created. They took the survivors. So the mother died instantly. Heather and Arthur were hurt. Heather was the least hurt, but she was an infant. Arthur was mortally wounded, so they rebuilt him as Drax the Destroyer, and then Moondragon was raised on Titan with the Eternals. Now she used Titans. Oh man, we could go into this deep hole, but the beings on Titan were Eternals related to the Eternal. And now this is before Jack Kirby even created the Eternals, so this is all retroactive. They were just called the Titanians, or the Titans, we'll say. And the Titans were like super powerful beings led by Mentor. And Mentor had two sons. He had Thanos and he had Eros. And all these beings lived there, and she was just a mere human. So she had like this inferiority complex. She trained in martial arts, and they unlocked all mental abilities that humans have. So she's now sending out the sub. So she grew up like with an inferiority complex, kind of swayed by Thanos, and she became a villain for a while. Now she's a hero, but she has like I don't want to say anti-hero, but she kind of has like villainous traits, even though she's a good guy. So now, after she sends out the summons, they're all getting defeated. They're all getting defeated. Because this is Marvel 2-in-1. We got to get the Thing and Spider-Man are not there yet. This is the Avengers fighting in space. But Jim Starlin was given Marvel 2. So he's just adapting. I don't think he would have had Thing and Spider-Man in the story if not for it being assigned into Marvel 2-in-1. So we got to get this hokey way of them into this. So now they're all getting defeated. Thor's getting blasted. Iron Man's taking the brunt, Captain Marvel, and now they're all captives. Look at Thanos posing like a madman. So here we have 2 pages of them setting up the story. So what's he do? Thanos has them defeated. He rips the Soul Gem. Remember, the Soul Gem was the original of the Infinity Stones off of Adam Warlock's head, and now he's building his big old device. Peter Parker wakes up. What's going on? This is too big. Yeah, it's too big for him. He's like, what do I do? He knows it was more than just a dream. So this is now Jim Starlin's bread and butter. So all of that was set up. Eight pages of setup, but this is a big old comic. So now we're into the deeps of space. We have Lord Order and Lord Chaos. These are 2 cosmic entities, abstract beings given intelligence, wills, and motivations, and sentience. This is Jim Starlin's bread and butter. Jim Starlin made up Lord Order, Lord Chaos, the Living Tribunal. There's more, and I can't seem to remember at the moment. But all of these abstract godlike beings that are just like removed from religion, but they're like religious figures and beings. And I totally 100% believe that Jim Starlin read the Michael Moorcock's Elric of Melniboné and the Eternal Champion series, because they have a lot of that order versus chaos, and the Michael Moorcock influenced Gary Gygax and Dungeons and Dragons. It's all from the same nerd pool, and Michael Moorcock, the band Black Sabbath read all of those stuff, and it's all the same fringe people, I just love it. And that's why I get a little annoyed when all these people just jump in now and they don't appreciate where it all came, like how Black Sabbath and Michael Moorcock and Marvel Comics and Dungeons Dragons, they're all from the same well, of nerddom. And then other people come in and they just don't know their beginnings, and it shows. Okay, off my high horse. I'm going to dismount off my high horse and take a sip of coffee. Coming soon to Disney Plus, Moondragon series. Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. I really am surprised she's not in Marvel MCU. So they're talking about, they're each picking like a representative. What a great way to add them in. So Lord Order is picking Ben Grimm, the Thing. We're going to insert this champion and see what happens. And Lord Chaos is picking Spider-Man. We're going to add this champion and see what happens. It's kind of like Quattros in that Star Wars Star Trek episode with the gamblers of I forget what it's called, Triskelion. So I love this. So Spider-Man, what was he? The Thing is reading Salem's Lot by Stephen King, and he's getting scared. Spider-Man taps him on the head, and he inhales his cigar. What a revolting development. Why I oughta, just you know, typical Marvel Comics goofy introduction. I love that. According to Jack Kirby's granddaughter, Ben Grimm is based on Jack Kirby's father, Benjamin Grimm. So Benjamin Kirby. There you go. I just love that. So now they're talking. He's like, "What are you doing? You can't do this." I just swallowed my cigar, and he's complaining. He's Ben Grimm complaining. Spider-Man, shut up. We got to go out in space and help them. I received a telepathic summons, and Ben Grimm is a good guy. I love Ben Grimm. I have a soft spot in my heart for Ben Grimm, the Thing. He's him and Superman are my two favorite superheroes. Superman because he is the ideal. He is the greatest superhero, bar none. You could argue if he was the first or not. I don't know. I'm sure somebody smarter than me could explain why or why not. But to me, he's the ideal superhero. And that Ben Grimm, to me, is like, I don't know, the most realistic in the fact that, like, he's hideously... Well, I take that back. I'm going to say Ben Grimm is the most dear to my heart in the fact that, like, he's been given a bad hand of cards, and yet he's such a good person that he overcomes it. Like, he is, the cornerstone. He's the heart of the Fantastic Four. Here we got Turbo. Here we got Captain Marvel explaining why he's the greatest good guy, because he likes Twinkies, because fruit pies are of the devil and disgusting. So Ben Grimm is like, we got to go help. We got to, and he's like, yeah, if they're in space, we got to help. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is that Peter Parker said, I can't do anything about this. This is too big. This is cosmic. This is space. I'm a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I can't do anything. And then overcame that fear and decided to help. Ben Grimm is basically saying the same thing. If Thor and Iron Man and all these guys are out there, what good are two schlubs from Brooklyn going to do about this? And now what do? If you go to the Fantastic Four, they got experimental spacecraft laying around, and now they're flying out into the solar system. So Thanos was going to blow up the sun. So they're close by. They, relatively speaking, they're not galaxies away. They're close by. So they're taking their space. Right. I just loved it. Experimental space cruiser right in the heart of Manhattan. No government regulations, and they're flying out. Ben Grimm's the pilot. That's why Spider-Man needed him. Spider-Man would have went by himself, but he couldn't fly the ship into space. My favorite superheroes are Moon Knight and Batman. Not sure why. Okay. Well, yeah, you got that more down to earth look. I could see that. Moon Knight and Batman are of the similar, and I could see that. I like Batman too. So when they get close to Thanos' ship, and all the space tropes, tractor beam pulls them in, and an array of horrific monsters attack. We got the space serpents, and look at that guy. So Thanos has an array of slaves. Hey, Psy-Freak, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for showing up. Thanos has an array of alien races under his thrall. I'm not sure if at this point he had like any sort of like religious, like they're trying to make him like a religious leader at some point in the future. I think at this point he was just like a cosmic tyrant that was like conscripting alien races into his service. So I don't know how like loyal they are, or if they're doing fear. And here's Thanos, just like, what is going on? These are like the least of the superheroes. The most powerful heroes I've already defeated them, and I got these like a bug. So what's he do? Kind of brilliant, actually. He just turns off the gravity. No artificial gravity over here, and they're floating. Now, artificial gravity, it's gonna be a pain in the neck if it's shut off. Spider-Man's floating. He's taken by surprise. That to me should make the Thing powerless. If he's just floating around, what is he going to do? But Spider-Man, he's got web shooters and things like that. So he's like adapting, and things getting blasted over here. Did Dr. Doom have his own religion? I don't know. I'm sure he would love to be revered to as a god. Maybe he does a modern Marvel. I don't know. So now they're laughing. He's like, Lord Chaos is like, you see, they're being taken out, and Lord Order is like, well, how could this be? Your agents get taken out, and they're gambling. And from the Soul Gem, Adam Warlock. We're going to pull out another player. At this point, you need to know that Adam Warlock is dead. Adam Warlock died. And remember I said that was inspired by Michael Moorcock? Michael Moorcock had a whole bunch of, they were the Eternal Champions. So they were these fantasy characters in a multiverse, so this idea of the multiverse existed in the 60s. And there were different dimensions, but they were the aspects of the same character, the Eternal Champion. In one dimension, he was Corum. In another dimension, he was Elric. And in another dimension, he was Erxun. In another dimension, he was Johnny Cornelius. In another dimension, Jared. So you get the point. They were all this. They shared the same soul, but different dimensions. So it was like one gem that you only got to see a facet of. And Elric had this evil sword called Stormbringer, and Stormbringer was a sentient being, and if whoever Stormbringer stabbed you like a vampire, it would suck out your soul. So it would tear your flesh like a sword, but worse than that, it would devour your soul, and your soul was devoured by this demonic sword being. And in order to make Elric want to kill people, it would transfer some of that power into Elric. So Elric was an albino. He was sickly. He was weak. He was feeble. But when he stabbed people, the sword would give him power, and he would get powerful. It became like a drug, to the point where he was dependent upon the sword. But Elric didn't want to do that. That was horrible. But at points, he needed to do it to finish the mission for the greater good. Or sometimes he would lose control, like his lover, Samoril. She was thrown at him, and the sword pulled and killed her, and so he killed her. So this is what this gem did. Adam Warlock would, the soul gem, against Adam's will, would devour people's souls and give Adam some power, but then they existed within the dimension within the soul gem. And when Adam was dying, the soul gem reached out and took his soul. It took him bodily into that. So that this gem is where Adam is right now. I'm doing good, thanks. I'll read the latest Wolf and Batsy. What a fun... Yeah, it is. Wolf and Batsy is a great comic. Brian Bow is the creator of Wolf and Batsy. I talk to Brian Bow a lot, almost every day. We just send messages. What a great guy, I got to support him, got to support Alterna. And since we're talking about that, live right now at alternacomics.com and on Indiegogo right now, you can pick up the newest 4 issues of King Cryptid. So it's 5, 6, 7, and 8, I think. I backed last night when I got home from my family party. So we got super fun over here, not just regular fun. We got super fun. We got strong arms, and if you want strong arms, you need to eat Slim Jims. So you eat the Slim Jims, you have some super fun, and you'll get strong arms. It's that simple. It's that simple, folks. So now we are inside the Soul Gem. Inside the Soul Gem, we got Pip the Troll, who I think they just debuted in the Eternals movie. Adam Warlock over here with his 70s swinger collar. I love that. And who's that green girl? That's Gamora. In the comics, Gamora was no other nice way to say it, but she was a sex slave, and she got her freedom, and she hates Thanos. At this point, she wasn't Thanos' daughter. I think that was revealed later. And she became an assassin. So she hated everybody. Could you blame her? It's realistic. She was like conscripted and thrown into sexual slavery, and then freed, and then became an assassin, and just became the deadliest. If she slap into a Slim Jim. Yep, here we go. Let's all have Slim Jims for breakfast next Sunday. And she turned to the side of good because of the nobleness of Adam Warlock. So she loves Adam Warlock. She doesn't love Star-Lord like in the comics. Star-Lord barely interacted with the Marvel Universe until they redid the Guardians of the Galaxy. I forget what year, but Adam Warlock, Star-Lord was like his own separate continuity for a long time. So here they're living in an idyllic world inside the Soul Gem, and these are other people that Adam Warlock destroyed their souls or took their souls. They're living in a paradise within the gem. And now we're back to Spider-Man. So they wake up from the whammy that Thanos put on them. What a revolting development, and I love this. Thanos, for the classic Marvel Bronze Age runs, the Jim Starlin runs, nobody beats Thanos. Thanos only gets defeated by himself. He he has like this inferiority complex. So I guess at this point, it's I'll explain a little bit about Thanos. So Thanos is the son of Mentor, and I forget his mother's name. Who is Mentor? Mentor is later on retroactively he was created to be the brother of Zuros, and Zuros is the leader of the Earth's Eternals. Zuros and Mentor, they had a disagreement. I don't remember exactly what. And Mentor took a contingent of Eternals and they left Earth and they settled on Titan. Also, that has nothing to do with this, but I might as well, another contingent of Eternals. I forget if they left Titan or if they left the Earth, but they went to Uranus. Not my anus, Uranus. And they stayed there. And they were kind of like the bad Eternals. So that was like a banishment. That has nothing to do with this, but that has everything to do with Quasar and Marvel Boy. So there are Eternals scattered about the solar system. So they live on Titan and they build their own civilization. Mentor has two children. One is Thanos. One is Eros. Thanos is ugly, and he's the first ugly Eternal of all time, and it gave him like an inferiority complex, and that inferiority complex is his weakness. That's why he instead of killing all, he's leaving them there and he's setting up the means of his own defeat right now because he doesn't feel that he deserves victory, you know. And that's the way he was as Jim Starlin created him. Okay, so he's gloating at everybody. The Thing and Spider-Man are arguing, and I love this because to me, the Thing, as fantastic as he looks, is Marvel's everyman. You know, he is the everyday superhero. He you know, he's and Spider-Man, geez, Spider-Man is even more so than the Thing. So I love this. I don't know if Jim Starlin planned this or if this is editorial decree, and therefore, and now he's making. But it's just, I love how all the Avengers, the great superheroes, Adam Warlock and Thor and all those guys, they are dependent upon the everyday guys. You know, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and the ever-loving Thing. So he's taunting them. He's like, I got this soul gem over here. I'm going to defeat you. And they're like, oh, what's going on? You know, and this is him monologuing now, you know. That stereotype exists for a reason. He's basically saying, I'm telling you all my plans. I'm going to destroy the sun. Your solar system must die. You know, this is, I think, I might be wrong here. I think this is right before Thanos got the idea of he's just going to go on a killing rampage. He's just blowing up the sun because, you know, oh yeah, okay, I'm wrong. Because I fell in love with the personification of death, and for the timeless time he served her, and so he's been going around killing on a personal level. Like, if you get into Thanos' way, he'll kill you because he loves death, and if you love death, then he's gonna. The only way to show death how much he loves her is by killing, and therefore by killing and killing, he's closest to death. That's terrifying. I love that. It is a bad guy. Thanos is a bad guy. He's one of the most evil beings in the universe. There's nothing redeeming about him. He knows he's a son of a bitch. And he's telling the Thing and Spider-Man, now you're messing with the son of a bitch. You know, because he has no illusions of nobleness, no illusions of good. He is bad. He's going to kill because he loves death. And by killing, he feels closest to death. That's it. He doesn't, you know, the movie's fundamentally misunderstood Thanos. His name, Thanos, is short for Thanatos. Thanatos is the Greek god of death. He's death. You know, the movie Thanos looked cool. He was a formidable villain, well acted by Josh Brolin, but he was flawed in that they misunderstood him or whatever. But this is terrifying. He is a serial killer. He looks so much more menacing. Yeah. He is. You never see his eyes unless. Look at that. You don't see his eyes. He's just gloating. He has a subtle smile, and he's just like every once in a while you see his eyes, but they're just points of light. He is the death that walks. You know, I agree, Psy-Freak. There's nothing good about him. He has no noble aspirations. You know, and he just and I think that would have been so much scarier if they just made him a serial killer. Like, you know, as long as I live, I'm going to kill, you know, and how cool would that have been to be like Iron Man just be like, we have to kill him. We have to kill him. Captain America, just like, Chris Evans just looking at Robert Downey Jr. and they just like, yes, we have to kill him. Take a kill shot. That would have been awesome to show you how desperate it was. But instead, I'm gonna wipe out half the universe for why I'm going to wipe out half the universe for resources. Why not double the resources? You have infinite power. It's just so stupid. And why didn't Thanos kill all life? Because then he would never be close to death again, right? He needed to keep some life around so that there would still be death. Once everything is dead, death isn't going to come to him anymore. So now he's done bragging and he's blasted rooting. Death That Walks would be a good name for a heavy metal band. Yes, that was the Phantom, right? The Death That Walks. That was his code name or tagline. So now he just blasted them. And look, why didn't he kill them? Why didn't he kill them? He just blessed them, and they're not even knocked out, And what is that? Oh, I can't even say. Oh, that's just debris. Oh, that's the thing. He blessed the thing. The thing being the hero that he is, he shielded Spider-Man. So now, I love this. I know I don't read a lot. Peter O'Ball, you really stepped it up this time. You stepped up to your neck. Here you are facing a monster who just creamed the Avengers, Ben Grimm and Captain Marvel, and now plans to blow out the sun. Face it, Parker, this is way out of your league. You were put together to fight cheap hoods and costume crazies. There's nothing in the Spider-Man manual about fighting star-bursting demigods. I don't belong here, and I'm not going to stay. He's like, what are you doing? I'm leaving. This is the Avengers. They know how to get out of these situations, don't they? They'll have to save the day, won't they? And it's like, guards, after that Craven, why doesn't he do it? Why doesn't he just blast him? Because he, that it's kind of like almost like he's written into a guard. He's too powerful, so therefore his weakness is like himself. Now, this isn't an act. We are seeing his thoughts. What do I do? What do I do? Even if I make it back, the thing's ship, I'll never be able to steer at. I don't know how to fly a spaceship. I can't stay here. All I could accomplish is getting killed. So he is panicking. This is Peter Parker. He's freaking out. Oh, the Phantom was the Ghost Who Walks. Okay, Death Who Walks. There you go, Bucky. Me and you just made up the Death Who Walks. There you go. I'll make a character, the Death Who Walks. But anyway, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is freaking out. He's having a moment of doubt. Why? Because he's human. He doesn't know what to do. He's like, I can't get home. I can't stay here. He's just running and he's hiding. This is not an act. This is panic. And, the aliens, he's got to take out the aliens and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know where to go. He's not super. He doesn't have a free booklet. Maybe if this gentleman was here, Mary Mitchell, if Mary Mitchell was there, he would know what to do. Or if he had a shooting a Daisy, if he had a Daisy BB gun, he'd probably have a chance. But now, chaos and order are just like, well, there goes out, the last champion, there goes the last wild card, and it just like, we gambled, we lost, there you go. And Spider-Man's hiding and he regains right over here, Spider-Man. He goes, darn, I had hoped Thanos would be gone by now. So he thought Thanos would leave. I don't know why he thought that. He's on Thanos' ship, but he's panicking. I don't dare try to follow up with my webbing. That'll be too easy. So what does he do? He goes, I don't have webbing. Well, he says I have webbing, but it's not good enough for what I want to do. So this is it. This is my last chance. And what does he do? He jumps into the machine that is keeping the Avengers in stasis. He's like, no, this can't be happening. Again, that's your fault. He had the upper hand. He kept them in status. Why? Because he wants to gloat. He wants to lord over people. There needs to be witnesses to tell Thanos how scary he is. There needs to be people around to tell Thanos, you're better than us. Because at the heart of all things, he has this inferiority complex. He is the only ugly Eternal. He's a birth defect. He's an anomaly. He's a mistake. So he needs people basically to tell him, you were right, you're the best, whatever. He's all ego. So now the Avengers are freed from Spider-Man's sacrifice. There's Spider-Man over there. There's the Thing waking up, and the secret of teaching yourself guitar. Doesn't he look like a nice fella? Me and this nice fella just hang out, play some guitar. Then we go down to Crazy David's, get a t-shirt. Ignore this person. I'm with Stupids with me. I'm with Stupid. This is the 70s. So now what have we got here? Pylon, Rat Pack. He's flinging energy at everybody. Look at this drawing of Iron Man. I just love this era of Marvel Comics. Don't you? I mean, isn't this just the best? Thanos, look at this drawing. Oh my God, Thanos is just Who said that he was menacing? Cyfreak, yeah. So now all the aliens attacking Captain America. I love how they're doing the fight. Captain America isn't like the guy who goes up and punches Thanos in the face. He's taking out the pea sheets, so the peewees rather, so that Iron Man and everybody else can fight. And then the Thing, Thanos forgot about the Thing, so old Benjamin comes up and puts him in the full Nelson Riley over here, the Charles Nelson Riley, and just holding on to him. And now look at this. So we got Captain Marvel doing what he does, the Thing over here. I mean, Vision over here. Look at that. Thor is punching Thanos while the Thing is just holding him. That is just awesome. Is there a link between Thanos' chin and the Skrull chin? No. No, there's not. It's just cool. I guess it's just alien. Or I don't know. The Skrulls are shape chambers. Maybe they thought it would be menacing to look like Thanos. I don't know. But as far as I know, it's just an artistic choice. I mean, Jack Kirby was drawing the Skrulls like that for years before Jim Starlin, so maybe Jim Starlin just saw it and thought it was cool looking. Maybe the Death Who Walks could be a evil goth beak dance who fights wolf and bat. Yeah, go mention go talk to Brian Bow. He's a reasonable guy. Tony Dimes, does he have Skrull DNA? Tony, you just poked the bear, and now you're going to get some nerdness dropped on you, okay? You ready? All right? Jim Starlin, at this point, when Jack Kirby did all of the cosmic stuff for Marvel, but he got pissed off at Stan Lee, and I don't know the exact in and outs of their dispute. Jack Kirby went over to DC, and then Jack Kirby brought his cosmic stuff to DC. You know, the New Gods and Darkseid. Now, it's no secret that Jim Starlin loved Jack Kirby and loved all the cosmic stuff. So Jim Starlin, I don't know if he did it on purpose or if this was just stuff that he was inspired by, or he just was like, you know what, I'm going to step into the cosmic shoes. But whatever the motivation, that's what he did. He stepped up into Jack Kirby's vacated cosmic stuff. So he started doing all the cosmic stuff. Darkseid has already debuted. Thanos, he makes no bones about it. Thanos was inspired by Darkseid, and he made Darkseid. Now, keep in mind, you know, Darkseid debuted, I think in 68. Thanos just debuted in, I think, 71. Kirby was over here. Starlin was over here at Marvel, and they're filling in the same shoes. Now, I'm not gonna pick the better creator or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's just mean, because you know, comparing anybody to Kirby is mean, because Kirby, you know, he's the groundbreaker. Everybody else steps on his shoulders, but you know, doesn't mean anybody that. Am I back? Hello? I Thanos just did an attack on me. The Thanites just attacked me. Am I back? Just somebody let me know before I keep talking into the void. The last comment I saw was drop the nerd back. Okay, Cyfreak. So again, I'm not gonna. It's unfair to compare anybody to Kirby. You know. Okay, so let's get back. So Thanos was an homage. Yeah, the stream paused for a bit. There's a thunderstorm going on. We go. Drop the nerd bus. Okay, I'm running Bucky over with the bus. Thank you, Tony. So, the last thing I said was Kirby was over here at DC, Jim Starlin was over here at Marvel, and they're filling in the same cosmic void. Now, when I think it was 77 or 78, Kirby came back to Marvel, and he promptly created the Eternals. Now, the Eternals were supposed to be their own thing. They were supposed to be in their own continuity. They had nothing to do with Marvel. That's why I forget if it was Eternals only lasted 19 issues and then one annual, so 20 issues altogether. And I think it was issue 2 or 3. I don't remember exactly. They introduced the cosmic powered Hulk robot. So they put the Hulk on the cover, but it wasn't the Hulk. It was a robot. Why did they go to the trouble of coming up with the cosmic powered Hulk robot? Because Jack Kirby wanted the Eternals to be its own thing, separate from Marvel. But they wanted an established Marvel character in the comic to help sell the comic. So somebody in the Eternals universe created, was a comic book fan and made a robot, and Icarus fights him. So there you go. And it's funny because I think Dan Slott brought back the cosmic powered Hulk robot for a future comic. The Eternals didn't sell too well. It got canceled. Jack Kirby moves on. That's what Jack Kirby does. I think it was Marv Wolfman in the pages of Thor folded in the Eternals into the Marvel Universe properly. So now we have Eternals into the Marvel Universe. So I forget if it was Jack Kirby, I forget who it was, but they retroactively made Thanos an Eternal. So he's now an Eternal from Titan, and they made the Titans tied to the Eternal. I love when they cross the T's and dot the I's. Now, what does that have to do with Skrulls? Okay, so here's Tony Dimes, here's Cy-Freak. The nerd bus now is getting into second gear. I think Brad now drive a Hulk mech. Oh, does he? That's actually kind of cool. That is kind of cool. So now we need to talk about the Eternals. The Eternals movie also missed the point of the Eternals. The Marvel MC. What bothers me so much is these people think that they know better than Jim Starlin or Jack Kirby. These Marvel MCU screenwriters. We don't know your name. We don't know who you are. You're playing with other people's toys, and you think you know the toys better than the people that made the toys. Rant over. So anyway, first there was the Celestials, and the Celestials are these gigantic space gods. They look like gigantic robots, but they're armored beings, and they travel around the world. And according to Kirby, they're angels. They have the names of angels. That's why all their names are like they're named after lesser known biblical angels. And what they do is they travel the universe, and they land on a planet, and they take the indigenous life forms and they experiment on them. They test them. Are they worthy? For what? Jack Kirby didn't get a chance to tell us because the comic got canceled. And what they do is they're scientists. They take three groups. So one group they leave alone. That's the control group. They're good scientists. You got to have a control. You don't know if your experiment is good or bad if you can't compare it to anything. That's the basis of comparison. And on Earth, that became humanity. One group they made perfect. They gave them all the advances. They never die. And that became the Eternals. Hey, Matt 6, good to see you, buddy. For those of you who don't know, Matt 6 Bear, I hope I said that correctly. He's been inviting me onto his channel for talks, but unfortunately, when he invites me, I have game groups. So I enjoyed being on your channel. I was only on once. Thank you for inviting me. I hope that you invite me again someday. And if you want to come on my channel and talk, let's do that. I love having people talk. And that goes for anybody. I invited Bucky. I like talking to people about comic books. Bar. Okay, bar. So there you go. But I didn't go the last two times. It's not because of anything bad or anything like that. It's just that on Monday nights at that time I have my game group. So there you go. It's just unfortunate timing. So let's get back to this. So one group is the Eternals. The Eternals are perfect and wonderful and godlike. And in the Eternals comic book, those were supposed to be the inspirations for all the gods. They are Zeus, Thor, Apollo, Dionysus, and all that stuff. So this is Jack Kirby getting mythological on us. Then the third, so we have humanity, we have the Eternals, and then we have the Deviants. In the movie, all the Deviants look the same because I guess they couldn't afford to CGI other models, whatever. But the Deviants are, their DNA is unstable. So, a blue guy and a red guy could have a kid, and it's a polka dot purple monster tentacle being. So there's no, it's just chaos. They are, so the Eternals are kind of like law, humanity is like neutral, and the Deviants are chaos. So they're unstable, and that was supposed to be all the monsters of mythology, the Cyclopses, the Harpies, and the demons. So that's Jack Kirby explaining where all this came from, and it was just the battle between the good guys, the perfect, versus the imperfect in chaos, law versus order, the eternal conflict. Back to Michael Moorcock again, and it was wonderful. Wonderful. Now, the Celestials, then they come back. They had the first host when they created this. The second host is when they come back and observe. And then the third host, they come back and they decide, was the experiment a success or a failure? And that's Arashim. He's there and he's going to judge and whether the Earth survives or not. That was the tension. So the Eternals comic was set at the time of the third host. Okay, Sci-Hulk says it's complicated, but he follows. Thank you, because sometimes I this nerd stuff just I talk too much, and that was the whole purpose of the Eternals and the Eternals are supposed this, if what happens if they decide that they're going to destroy the Earth? What happens if they decide that the experiment was a failure? Do they destroy? Do the Eternals follow? And that was the tension. You had guys like Ajax, who was blindly loyal to the Celestials, and then there was Icarus, who fell in love with a human and liked humanity. So what do they do? I just got distracted, but focus. Too much coffee. Let's take a sip of coffee and realign my brain. Get my brain wet. Okay. So that was the tension, and it was, I think it was resolved in Thor 300, which I need to reread because I kind of forget. Okay, so that's the Eternals. That's the story of the Eternals. Now, somebody along the way decided that the Celestials, they did this on other planets. So on Earth, the branches of humanity survive. On the planet Skrull, get back to Tony's question, in the Way Times, I think 20 minutes ago, now I'm finally getting around to answer Tony's question. The Celestials went to Skrull homeworld, and they did what they do. They make a control group, they make an Eternal group, and they make a Deviant group. Well, on Skrull, the Deviants took over, and they wiped out the Eternals. I know. They took out the Eternals and they took out the control group. So the Deviants won on Skrull, and they learned to master their instability, and that became their shape-changing abilities. So each Skrull, it's kind of brilliant. It's kind of brilliant. Each Skrull, if I may get modern political, coffee is life. You got that, Bucky. The Skrulls are the perfect endpoint of identity politics. Each one of them is a unique species unto themselves. Their DNA is twisted and yet, because of groupthink, because of they all shape change into the same thing. The Skrulls are supposed to be carbon copies of each other, even though they could shape change. Jack Kirby was full aware of what he was saying, that they were communists. They were the communist. They could be anything they want, and they all choose to be the same thing. Ultimate diversity leads to nothing. If everybody's special, therefore nobody's special. That is the end point of all of this. Hey, B Powers is here. Thank you for showing up. I like those monster things. So that's what the Skrulls are. They are individuality is. They are the ultimate individuals who suppress their own individual to look the same. So on some worlds, they look like the Skrulls that we see. On some worlds, they look like 40s gangsters, which I always hated that idea. And in some worlds, they look like this. Do the Skrulls look like that? I don't know. So that is the only link between Thanos' chin and the Skrulls, in that the fact that, Thanos is an Eternal and the Skrulls are Deviants. But I think it was just like a menacing look. It's a scary look, And it's funny because I thought the same thing was Thanos a Skrull. And if you look, there's another character called the Shaper of Worlds who has the chin and the big ears, and but he's not related to Skrull. I just think it's just a cool way of making somebody looking menacing. So how is that, Tony? I think I spent 20 minutes answering your question. So let's get back to this now. This wonderful Jim Starlin art. They're fighting all the bad guys. Captain Marvel over here, beautifully designed costume. I love this Vision just blasting with his heat vision. And here, two of the strongest guys in Marvel just take it out, trying to fight Thanos, and Thanos is holding them all off. He's Thor's over here. This Ben Grimm is getting taken out. Thor hits. I just love that. Double teaming them. Karoom! And fools! Look at that. just blasted him. And now Thor, I love that. The Thing gets taken out first, and then Thor needs an extra blast. That don't bother me. Thor is more powerful than Benjamin. I have no problems with that. Even though I love Benjamin more, I have no problems with Thor being more powerful. His head just grew. Cypher's cerebellum is swelling. He's swelling. And what is Spider-Man doing over here? He's recovering. He's recovered. Look at the woozy lines, and he's stepping over everything. And what does he say over here? Yet, for some unexplainable reason, I'm feeling everything depends on what I do next. And here's Chaos. He's like, yes, yes, yes. My agent is up. So Spider-Man is the wild card. So what's going on in my head? What's wrong? You know, Adam Warlock. Keep in mind, Adam Warlock is dead. He's dead, and he's living in paradise with the woman he loves and his best friend in the paradise dimension created within the Infinity Stone of the Soul Gem. He's like, oh, why? And he goes, I must have revenge. So beyond this veil of death, the mortal world isn't concerned to him. And for whatever reason, Spider-Man's spider sense is reaching out and orders like the final layer is primed. It now only remains for the intermediary Spider-Man to facilitate his release. So the Spider-Man's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I just know that this is important. So his spider sense is, this psionic ability to detect danger and tell him what to do. Jim Starlin is basically saying it's in tune to the cosmos, and Lord Order and Lord Chaos are working through his spider sense, and he's like, the Soul Gem, what are we going to do? And he's like, yes, he's figuring it out. And then they're going to fly rockets. He's going to get a million cash, bunch of Zagnuts and crunchy bars and grit. And what does he do? He's just beating everybody. I love this like Ditko-esque pose. He's flying through all of these. And look, he's still beat up. This is Spider-Man. That's why I like Spider-Man. He's still beat up. But he's like, I must do something. Look, he can't stand up. And there it is. There's the Soul Gem. What does he do? He swats it, and it smashes. And he goes, I did it. He doesn't even know what he did. He doesn't know why he did it. So from the Soul Gem, Adam Warlock is now freed. Oh my God. When I was a little kid, oh man, did that. I was like, what's going on? And I laughed. I was like, oh, look, his pee-pee's long. But that's the little kid for you. And look at Thanos. By the great Nebula, it cannot be you. I saw you die. I killed you. Look at that face. Look at that. For the first time, he's holding Thor's body. Benjamin Grimm is like staggering behind him. And Thanos is terrified. And look, he's forming. That you did, vile serpent, yet I could not rest while you remained a threat to my universe. Adam Warlock is claiming the universe. Adam Warlock, this is my universe. Look, stay back. You cannot stop me. No! Boom. Thanos is dead. So Thanos died. Adam Warlock killed him. And that's the end. Very literally Deus Ex Machina, the god from the machine. Adam Warlock, little kid, I'm 43, and I just said the same thing. That's why we're friends, Tony. So look at them. They're like, oh my God. So Adam Warlock used his godlike powers to turn Thanos into stone. He just killed him. He's dead. And all the aliens are just like, we give up. We don't particularly like Thanos. We were terrified of him. And what does Captain America say? He goes, kind of reminds me of May 7th, 1945 Berlin. So he's saying these people are all getting liberated, and Spider-Man and Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel didn't really do anything. He's like, now what? They beat into disarm. What will the Avengers do with Thanos' crew? Release them. He's like, what? You got to be kidding. What would you suggest to do? Imprison them on Earth for their crimes? Think of all the problems that would cause. He's like, yeah. So he's like, there you go. You're free. Get out of here. Take your ship. Leave. So what do? They fly to an unknown planet in the asteroid belt. Not a planet, an unknown asteroid, and they create 3 graves. So Captain Marvel, and this is a pretty what's the word? Like a foreshadowing, because within a year or two, Captain Marvel would be dead. So Jim Starlin had he had no problems killing off his own creations, and here they are just standing at the grave of Adam Warlock. So we have a grave for Gamora, Adam Warlock, and Pip the Troll. And here they are, just standing there like, you know, mourning the lost. Captain Marvel, Godslayer, slavery of two worlds and tormented soul. May now he be at peace. And there's the soul gem. They just put it on top of his grave. You know, just wonderful storytelling. Just wonderful storytelling. Which means next Saturday I have to show the Avengers, the comic that preceded this. I seem to do that out of order a lot. So now Ben Grimm and Spider-Man are just like, now we got to get back. We're two, and the conversation I had, we are out of our league here. We were just two little kids, two normal everyday guys in this battle of gods and aliens, and then Adam Warlock is back into the soul. Note that the soul gem wasn't destroyed. Spider-Man just basically got his attention by smashing the gem around, like, oh, the real world, this unfinished business. So that was just like an energy spirit that came out. So he's still bodily in the gem with Gamora, his love, Pip the Troll, whom I never loved, who I've never liked, rather. And here's Thanos' ship is just leaving the solar system because it's manned by these aliens, and this is him. They just leave him. He-Lord is destined to spend infinity trapped within, lamenting the waste that he has made of his days, and weeping for his love. Of course, they brought them back because it's count. But at the time, this was the end of a cosmic saga. And soul gems, they used to be quite popular things, yes. I don't think that it was a coincidence that this ended the Jim Starlin cosmic set, just as Jack Kirby was coming back to Marvel. So I think, was it like, wrap it up, Jack's coming back? Or like, oh man, the Master's coming back, out of difference? Or was it coincidence? I don't know. But, I don't believe in coincidences. So there you go. So Jack Kirby would be back to Marvel pretty soon after this comic. And, and then phase 2 of like, keep in mind, there was no Eternals or anything like that. There was no Infinity Stones. This was just Jim Starlin weaving a cosmic story, with the Soul Gem that to me was inspired by Michael Moorcock's Stormbringer and Mournblade. There you go. I love this comic. This is an important comic. This needs to be in everybody's collection. This is... I don't know if this is a key issue as far as money or value. I mean, I got this off the newsstand, but I cannot stress this was Shakespeare. This was literature. This is up there with Dracula, Moby Dick. This is an important piece of American literature. Geez, comic books and jazz and apple pie and baseball are like, the most American things possible. I don't know. I can rant and rave. So I got 5 people in the comments. Anybody want to say anything before I close it down? And I've been talking for an hour. It's kind of storming out. I don't know. What anybody? Bucky, you got anything to say? Has anyone ever had a Clark bar? I've heard of them. Yeah, Clark bars. My mother loved Clark bars. We've always had Clark bars. They're kind of like Butterfingers. Has anyone read the Logan's Run comics? I think I have number 1. But that's all I have. Number 1. I wasn't big on sci-fi comics, and I wasn't big on intellectual property comics as a kid. Hey, you're welcome, Tony. Thanks for your question. Your question gave me a 20-minute rant. I appreciate it. I love that stuff. Go back to the Sunday comics I did with Tony. We did a Sunday comics about Silver Surfer Requiem, which was a wonderful comic. And Tony, you were really good on that. If you ever want to do another one, just let me know. Okay, looks like everything's winding down. I'll give it another minute or two. Anything? Bueller? Okay. Oh, I have a question. What did you read first, DC or Marvel? Oh, Marvel. Oh, Sci-Freak, Marvel by a billion light years. I just got distracted because I'm easily distracted. But when I was a kid, I loved Marvel comics. I love Superman. I love Batman. I never really liked Green Lantern and Aquaman. Like, it was like a goofy thing. But I watched the Super Friends like all the other old timers in my group. But I really loved Marvel. My favorite was the Fantastic Four. My first comic book of all time, I think, was Fantastic Four 186, and I was hooked. But I take that back. My first comic book of all time was a Flash comic, but the first comic that I bought with my own money was Fantastic Four 186, and I was hooked. I loved Marvel to the point where my friend Mike, he got into DC. He liked Marvel and DC, and I would make fun of him. DC was for babies. DC was goofy. At this point, you know, I say that the beginning of my comic book obsession was 1974. I don't think anybody's going to get mad at me when I say that the Marvel as a whole in 1974 was better quality comics than DC in 1974. And I'm talking about the superhero lines because I've since learned that the DC Westerns and DC war comics were on par, if not better than Marvel, but I didn't like them. I like superheroes. So to answer your question, I liked Marvel by a light year. It wasn't until 1985, till the Crisis on Infinite Earths, that became a DC fan too. Someone told me that Thanatos was in a Logan's Run. Oh, that's news to me. That's news to me. If he's in there, I might have to pick it up. You prefer DC much more, but Batman was my first comic. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to argue with anybody. I realize now that it was my own prejudices, but like I look at some of the Supermans and like, oh look, somebody stole my costume. I have to go to Jupiter and recover it. That was like a Batman story. So weird war rules. Yes, I absolutely agree. The same thing with yeah. If I see a cat or a dog, forget about it. Okay. Yeah. I've been collecting Weird War comics. Tomorrow's video is going to be a back issue bonanza, meaning older comics that are going into my comic collection for the first time, and that's probably going to be the last one for a while because I've been spending too much money and I got to do some home repairs, and I also want to catch up on my back issues are just overflowing. So there you go, everybody. 66 minutes. It looks like the questions have wound down. I want to thank everybody. And I guess I got to start saying things like this, which I never said before, but like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all the YouTube stuff, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow with another video. All right, bye bye, Cypher, bye bye Bucky, bye bye Tony, bye bye everybody. See ya.